Stick around to the wheel spin and you will find out what we're playing next week. Hello everyone, Johnny Hurricane here from GamersHeroes.com, and welcome to Best with a Buddy, where Smith and I play a co-op game for a few hours, give our general impressions, what we like and dislike, and then give a fun factor score.
Games today continue to go up in price. $50, $60, $70, it really adds up. And if you and your buddies need to buy multiple copies, it gets expensive. We're going to break down the best and worst in all things co-op, and today we're diving into State of Decay 2.
State of Decay 2 is an open-world zombie survival game where you are building up a base and a community. When it launched in 2018, it was technically challenged, and now we'll see how it performs in 2021. State of Decay 2 is for people who like Dead Rising, DayZ, really any type of zombie killing game, fans of simplistic base building, nothing too complex here, and of course, looting addicts.
State of Decay 2 is for players that like undead roadkill, fans of dismemberment and low graphic gore, and players that like being bossed around by NPCs because they are constantly asked you to fetch shit. State of Decay 2 is not for whoever isn't the host, we're going to go into that in a minute, fans of complex and custom base building, and players that want a worthwhile narrative or story or any kind of dialogue at all really.
It's also not for anyone that likes good combat, because this combat is serviceable at best. Also good graphics. I was playing on the Series X. Yeah, not great. And people who don't like going back and forth a lot for shopping trips, because that is what you're going to be doing a ton. Now that we've gone over who the game is for and not for, let's take a deeper dive and look at the best and worst of State of Decay 2. One of the best parts of State of Decay 2 is the evolution of the community. So in State of Decay, you get yourself a base really early on, and then you basically upgrade that base or find a new base. To do this, you need to go out into the world and look for survivors. There's different kinds of survivors with different skills. Some are good at melee weapons, some are good at shooting, some of them are cooks. They all have different, sometimes specialized skills, and these skills are required to get certain upgrades back at your base, or even get certain upgrades for, let's say you want a certain sight for your gun. Well, you need someone that knows how to make that. Or let's say you want to get more food back home. Well, you're going to need someone that actually knows how to cook. All of this goes into building up your base and your community more and more. And it's a very rewarding system. All right, Smith, what about you? What do you like about the community and the survivors?
I think the continuity, the evolution, the management of the overall community is kind of like an RTS sort of style to it, the way you've got to manage your community members, make sure they've got certain skills, make sure they're applied to certain areas of your base. I think it has a really interesting strategic layer to it. Couple that with the permadeath, where you can end up investing lots of books and other items into a character to raise their skills, only for them to die on an excursion gone wrong or accidentally running them over or whatever. I think that really adds a nice layer to the game that's otherwise, overlooking, but it's a really good aspect of the game for sure.
It's almost like a roguelite light, right? Like almost like, because there's permadeath for these characters, and if you lose a character that you need, you're gonna have to go grind and hope that you find the skill book, or luck out and find a survivor that actually has that skill, which is pretty rare, especially early on. Another good addition, now we probably should have mentioned this earlier actually, me and Smith did play this game when it first came out. They added a bounty system, which I am 99% sure was not in the beginning, like when the game first came out. I don't think it was in there. It is a very simple system. Smith, I'm going to go ahead and toss that one over to you, and you can just kind of explain what it is.
Yeah, so basically you meet this hillbilly next to a truck in the middle of the mountains somewhere, depending on where the map is, and you speak to him, he gives you a list of bounties, and it's simple objectives, kill 5 zombies while you're kneeling down, kill 5 zombies with a gun. They're very simple objectives, but it gives you something clear to aim. So it's a very sandboxy game. So there's not a lot of directions. So these bounties give you something to immediately aim for. You can do them with a friend, and you can get rewards, anything from a cowboy hat to a new gun. It's a really simple system, but it adds so much to the game. I think it was a really good update for sure.
And what I really liked was it's going away in August, but there was a crossover with Sea of Thieves, so you could get like a cutlass and pirate hat and things like that. They had another one that just came back in July. So they do crossovers with their other games, which is nice. And like Smith said, it's just something really simple that was added. And if you're going to be killing zombies anyways, you might as well do it and get rewarded for it. So yeah, good addition. I'm guessing that was a free update, because I didn't pay. I mean, we played it on Game Pass, so I didn't actually pay for anything outside of Game Pass. But yeah, that's a good addition. And then one last thing, one of the other best parts about State of Decay is you might be lacking materials for something, but I never felt like I had to go that far out of my way to find a specific material. Yes, I would run out of stuff sort of like near home, but if I took my truck and drove for a couple of minutes, there was plenty of spots to loot. There was a lot of loot to get, and I could always get what I needed for the most part. Sometimes, it's a little tricky. You go to a gas station, doesn't have a gas can. You're like, well, what the hell? But, it's the apocalypse. What are you going to do? How about you, Smith? You think that getting the stuff that you needed for was simple enough?
Yeah, I think the basic survival supplies, you have these basic supplies that you use to build and upgrade and repair stuff, then you have more specialist ones. The specialist ones are sort of tied to progression and the evolution of your base. They're slightly harder to find. Like your day-to-day stuff, your fuel, your repair kits, your food supplies for your camp, is all relatively easy to find. So although it takes effort to go and get it, you don't get frustrated. You spend 25 minutes searching 10 supermarkets and you're not found a single can of beans. It's very easy, it's very, very intuitive, very quick to pick up.
Now that we've talked about the best the game has to offer, let's talk about the worst that State of Decay has to offer. I'm going to kick it over to Smith to start us off.
It seems minor, but something that really irritated me was the fact that you can't shoot from moving vehicles. So as we played, Johnny was typically the driver. I sat in the back of the truck or in the passenger seat. You can interact with some zombies. If they attack the vehicle, you can push them off. You can open the door to shove them off. That bit's great. It was fun. It looked good, but you couldn't actually fire your weapon, either from the passenger seat or the back of the truck. You were just stuck. We did try and old school this at one point and just surf on the back of it, where I'd sit on the back and fire. Worked great until it didn't. I nearly died, so we didn't try that again. But it is something that's just really restrictive in a game that you spend a lot of your time driving, and it is centered on co-op action. So to remove that, which is sort of, it seems lazy. It's something like either they didn't know how to do it or it didn't perform well and just sort of left it out. But it did feel like an oversight. And then probably the next one is how the game handles throwing weapons. Like just throwing grenades, that's rubbish. I didn't hit any. I don't know if you did or not, Johnny.
I did because it was big explosions, but I tried to arc it. The zombies were already running at me. It's the only reason that I hit them is because they were already running at me and I threw it and it happened to land inside of them. I did throw a flashbang a couple of times. And I blinded myself. I set myself on fire a lot with Molotovs. It's like you said, throwing weapons, you need to have that arc, or at least see where you're going to be throwing it, right? Like just that little amount, especially if you can hurt yourself, you need to have that little line to know where I'm throwing at it. Because if it's automatically locking onto a zombie, I don't want to throw a Molotov at a zombie that's running at my face because that's going to set me on fire, right? So there needs to be some sort of aiming mechanic attached to it, but of course without being able to aim out of the cars, maybe they just couldn't figure it out. I don't know. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, maybe if you're aiming your gun and you throw, you might be able to throw that way. I'm not entirely sure.
It's a bit late for that, isn't it? Why don't you?
Yeah, it is, but
Jesus.
Yeah, just saying. But that's just something I thought of. I don't even know if it's going to work. So, there's that. Just know that if you're trying to throw something, keep your distance because it's likely going to blow up at your feet. So, yeah. Those two things are kind of minor compared to what the worst thing here is, and that is how the co-op actually works. So, I'm going to let Smith go into this one because I was the host. I was the guy who was having my world build up. Smith was the guest, and go ahead, Smith. Explain how this works.
Yeah. So this blows my mind in this day and age. I mean, the game was 2018, so it's not brand new, but that's still quite a long. We've come a long way since the old days, and having the stupid system in place. That's all it is. It's absolutely stupid. As the host, Johnny has his community there. He builds up his base. He picks what he constructs. He goes out, grabs his supplies. I'm basically a tag along. I couldn't interact with any of the lots, so I could interact with the stuff once he built it, but I couldn't sit there and look at what the options were, so we could discuss. I think we need a medical bay. He's like, no, I think we need a garage, or there's no discussion there. It's pretty much he makes all the decisions and I follow on, and that whole sort of segregation of the two players happens throughout the entire game. When he approaches an NPC, I can't progress with a quest by speaking to an NPC. I have to wait for Johnny to do it. When Johnny does do it, I don't hear the conversation. So I'm just sat there waiting for him to finish. Honestly, most of the time we were playing, I sat in the car watching YouTube on the second screen because I couldn't do anything. Even when you go in to loot a room, you'll go in, it'll tell you in the top corner you've got 0 out of 6 boxes, and you'll have boxes of my colour and boxes of Johnny's colour, and only I could loot mine, and only Johnny could loot his. So you can't really separate because you're not looting more efficiently. And even when you do separate, there's some kind of tether system that just sort of pins you back into place. So, I mean, it's quite a distance there, right? It's not too short. I don't remember it being too much of a problem.
Yeah, we didn't even we only triggered it because Smith had to go do something and I was driving away, and I just wanted to see if there was a tether system. There absolutely is, but I would say it's a good tether system. It's not like, oh my god, I'm 3 houses away. It was like, I'm on the other side of the freaking city and Smith is at base right now. So it was a large tether, but it is still there, which is not good. You should never have a tether system, straight up. And the other thing, you can't, I don't know how, because Smith had his previous data. The only reason he had enough survivors to actually do this is because he had survivors back from when we played originally, because he couldn't recruit survivors in my world. And eventually your survivor is going to get tired and Smith has to switch to another survivor. Each community starts with 3. So if he goes through all 3 of his survivors and they're all fatigued, that's it. He's just got to bring in a tired guy because he can't recruit anyone. It's like I said, it was just a silly system. And it's not like it's uncommon, right? We were talking about it in Godfall, very similar. Like, we were just tag-alongs. That's about it. At least Smith was progressing in his own story at that point. But yeah, it's baffling. When you play co-op, you want to both be building towards something. Like, I don't care. I would gladly, if it's like, okay, well, do you want this guy to have access to your upgrades and materials and everything? It's like, yeah, let him build up at my base, or heck, let him build a second base in my world. I'm cool with that. But no options, just straight up. He's here to play with you. You're here to build up the world. Go. That's it. It's not a good system, not a good look. I really wish people would get rid of that system, quite frankly. But it's very, very common, as we said. So, yeah. So I believe, though, Smith, you do get a little bit of rewards for coming to my world. You just don't get them until you go back to your own.
Yeah, so over there, I got multiplayer rewards, tier 1, tier 2. They go up the more you contribute and the longer you play, and then when you go back to your world, you get them. But again, I don't want to have to, log off away from Johnny to go to my world. I want to play the entire game, start to finish, with my friend in co-op. That's what I'm here for. I'm not here to play for an hour and then jump back and grab some stuff and then come back and forth. It's just the whole co-op mechanic is just not really co-op. It really killed the experience for me. I think the difference in how much you enjoyed the game to how much I enjoyed it is purely based on that really stupid idea of co-op implementation.
Yeah, I agree. Though I will say, joining up with someone in co-op, super simple. Like, just start, join, boom, good to go. So I did appreciate that. But yeah, that's some of the worst parts of State of Decay 2. Let us get ready to jump into our final verdict here. And before we do that, why don't you guys share your score down below, 1 to 5 stars, and let us know what you think of State of Decay 2. And now for the fun factor score. I'm going to give this game 3 stars. I did enjoy killing zombies with a friend and building up my community. Finding the different survivors did encourage me to explore more. And of course, the constant flood of new weapons and loot, as well as the bounty system, could keep me occupied for a little while at least. That said, I was the host, and if I wasn't the host, I don't know if I'd keep playing. Without recruiting followers and helping to build base, which quite frankly is one of the biggest reasons I'd keep playing, I really don't think I'd go for too long. I mean, I might jump in to play with a buddy if he's like, hey, I need, someone to help me do a couple things, but other than that, I don't think I'd go back to it if I wasn't the host. What about you, Smith? What's your score?
I'm going to give this game a fun factor score of 2 out of 5, and that is a generous 2. As the not host, the visitor, I suppose, I couldn't do anything. I couldn't interact with the people. I couldn't hear the stories of the characters. I weren't sure what your objectives were. I couldn't check out what the possibilities of building at the bases were. It was really limited, and it just made me feel like I was a pure tag-along. I didn't feel like I had any purpose. I was performing exactly the same duties as the useless NPCs we took with us. I got out the car and shot stuff and then got back in the car and we left. Not the best experience at all. And now for the important question, Johnny. Would you dive in with a buddy and play State of Decay 2 again?
I would if I was the host. As I said, I don't believe I would go back and play as a guest unless I had already beaten the game and I just wanted to show some stuff off. So, only if I was the host. What about you, Smith? Would you go back and play State of Decay 2 with a buddy?
I would not. If I was the host, I'd feel bad for treating my mate like shit. If I wasn't the host, I'd be bored out of my mind. So no, I would not play State of Decay 2.
Alright, there's our impressions for State of Decay 2. To see what we're going to be playing next, let's head over to the wheel spin. Alright, before we spin the wheel, Smith, what game on the wheel do you not want it to be this time?
Demon's Souls, forever. I never want to have to play that game again.
Okay, without further ado, let's spin the wheel. All right, and just so we are clear, I'm the guy who spins the wheel. I already know what it's gonna be, but Smith doesn't, and neither do you. With that, the wheel is a-going.
It's that lovely noise again. I hope for some Sea of Thieves this time. Is that going to happen?
I had to put my hand on it because it was, it's not steep.
Ghost of Tsushima, the multiplayer bit.
Ghost of Tsushima is the winner. And yes, that little bracket there fell off, so... Hey, I gotta put that back on.
Professionals here at Gamers Heroes.
Yeah, well, you know. I put the damn thing together. I didn't think it was going to fall apart on me mid-spin. Like, that's the exact thing it's not supposed to do. But anyways, yes, we will be playing Ghost of Tsushima. We will be checking out the Legends mode. We played, I don't know, a couple hours of that so far, back when it first released. But we didn't get too far into it. But it is a good time to start it because it is the new PlayStation 5 version's coming out soon with the Island of Iki. So, you know what? It's good timing. We'll check it out. And we will take it off the board. Smith, you like Ghost of Tsushima, right?
Good time, great game, fantastic.
Okay, there it is. All right, that'll do it for us. If you liked what you saw, got what you needed, like, comment, subscribe. See you guys in the next video. Later, Gators.